to turn the music down?
We spent a whole year trying to break this case. Yeah? It was just the beginning.
All right. Hi, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. I know that was a really brief transition period, but here we are. This is the NFT panel. I'm Elle Griffin. I'm really into written NFTs personally, and I just want to have the rest of these people introduce themselves and tell you kind of how they work in NFTs so you have some context for the panel, and then we'll jump into some questions. Roger, you want to start?
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Roger. Some of you might know me as the Hogfather. We did a NFT project last year called the GM Groundhogs, which spawned a company called Remy Labs that Remy's focus is to onboard brands into the Web3 space through NFTs, token-gated commerce, and crypto payments, all that fun stuff. So that's a little bit about me. Happy to be here. Oh, yeah. Go check out the Taft booth, by the way. Good call. Jeez, look at these shoes. If you guys have seen the sneakers out there, that's one of Remy's projects. You definitely need to check that out. Next level physical and digital integration with the NFT and the shoe.
Awesome. Hey. Oh, can you hear me? Okay, I'll project. Hey, I'm Emily. I work with Uplift Aerospace, and I am the director of a Web3 space program that we just launched called Space Plus NFT. So our project is really around bringing social infrastructure into commerce in space. So what we do as a company is we are building out the social, physical, and digital infrastructure for commerce in space, including long-term, actually remotely manufacturing lunar concrete. If you check out our booth here today, we actually have lunar concrete samples and free samples for all of our holders. And Space Plus is really about bringing everyday people into space. So we have an educational platform that we're building out so people can learn about using a telescope, astronomy, aerospace, and physics. We have astronauts in our Discord that help 17-year-old holders with their homework. So it's a really cool community we're building out. The most exciting thing, and I always bury the lead, so I apologize for that, but probably the most exciting thing is we're actually hiring a community astronaut to go to space this year and exhibit our upcoming PFP collection in space aboard a New Shepard rocket. So all holders can apply, and it's going to be a community vote for, to see who wants to represent them in space. So today, if you tweet us out at Space Plus NFT, say why you should be the astronaut. We're going to be raffling off one of our launch passes. So that's happening today. Very exciting.
Very cool, very cool. I'm Jessica Rizzuto. I work at Daz 3D. Daz has been around for 20 years. We're a Utah-based company, and we do 3D models. So stuff that people use our stuff in The Mandalorian, in Jurassic Park, in all sorts of different movies and stuff for the actual 3D portions. And we got into NFTs a year ago with the Coca-Cola collection, which I think is still like the top 3 solo collection that's sold on OpenSea. And we've done our own now PFP collection, which for those of you who don't know is like the profile pic, right? We've done a bunch of other collections that are upcoming. We work with some really cool brands to do that champion, like I mentioned, Coke. I did want to ask one question before I pass it on, but how many people here actually own an NFT? Okay, that's really good. When we were here in January, it was like a much smaller sample, so that's awesome. I think we can have a little bit more in-depth conversation, which I'm looking forward to. So thanks, guys.
Great. Thank you. Pardon? Okay, here we go. My name is Todd Crossland, and so I'm the founder of CoinZoom. So we are a U.S.-based cryptocurrency exchange, global partner with Visa. So we issue a CoinZoom Visa debit card, so you can spend crypto that's in your wallet. So if you've got Dogecoin, Shiba, Bitcoin, Ethereum, you just select it on the app, and then you can go into Starbucks and swipe your card and spend crypto in real time. And then you can buy and sell about 40 different coins on the exchange. We have a feature called Zoomy where you can send crypto and USD anywhere in the world instantly for free, as long as the other user has our app. And then we launched a new NFT marketplace this last month with the Jazz as kind of a premier partner. So we've done this a little different in our marketplace. So the Jazz came to us and they didn't want to have their fans that maybe aren't really crypto, natives or really a lot of experience to have to open a MetaMask account and transfer Ether and do all that. So with our marketplace, you can buy the NFT with your debit card, credit card, ACH, wire, or any crypto that's in your wallet. So Dash, Shiba, any of the 40 coins you can buy it with. There's no gas fees. We actually have a new feature called CoinZoom Cash, so you can go into a Walgreens, give them $100, and they scan your app and you can buy the NFT with cash. So it's a really simple marketplace for the average fan. We're expanding that to other NBA teams, soccer, car racing, and kind of some global brands as well.
Let's see how it works for me. My name is Marcus Hadlock. I go by Hattie the Creator online. I come from the world of NFT degens and trading profile pictures of monkeys and dogs and penguins and whatever else, So I come from the perspective of an artist. I've been an artist my whole life, but I've been what I call a closet artist because obviously that doesn't feed the family, so I thought. And I've worked in corporate and software. I worked for Certiport and Pearson Education for the past over a decade. And then one day I saw an article about a 14-year-old who launched an NFT and was able to raise $1 million plus for his passion project, and kind of opened my eyes a bit. And then I had this amazing opportunity where my wife just gave birth to another child, and then I was given this paternity leave, and I thought, okay, I need to take this time and make the best of it and get into something, and that's kind of right when I was seeing NFTs take off. So I got in right then, and then I was able to get in on a project called Apocalyptic Apes. I was the artist on that project. We were able to sell that one out on Christmas, and then since then we launched a secondary project called the Ape Queens, which is basically the same as the first one, but all females, and now we're working on babies, ironically. So I know it's not super original. There's others that have already done stuff like that, but we are thinking of new ways and facing all the new problems that NFTs face once you get to this phase and trying to stay relevant. So that's what I bring.
Awesome. So that is a good segue actually to something I wanted to talk about, because what's so crazy about NFTs is how much money is going into them. On OpenSea, which is the platform that NFTs primarily sold on, they've done $10 billion in revenue from NFT sales just up till May. So up till May 1st of this year. So that's a lot of money being invested into art, and probably for the first time in a really long time that art is being invested in this way. And kind of interesting things is that in the NFT world, this art stands for something. It's kind of like if you, for those of you like less familiar, it's kind of like if you bought, like if you have a deed to your house, it's like this pictographic kind of thing that represents that I own my house. Only in the NFT world, this pictographic thing could mean a million things. It could give you access to a lot of different things. So I wanted to ask you guys kind of what you've seen as some of the more interesting things that you get for this NFT kind of utility, so to speak.
Sure. That one's a layup for a Taft NFT here. So here's what I would say, just kind of broadly observing and participating in the NFT market. What I would say is still 95+% of NFT buying is purely speculation. People want to get rich off of their JPEGs, and a lot of people have. That doesn't mean there's not like amazing pieces around original art and the technology is super durable long term. But it's resulted in a ton of crowding in the space and a lot of people, launching projects, rugging projects, or trying their best to do a project and realizing it's way harder than it might be. So I'm really interested in what we're focused on at Remy is how do you bridge the gap between like the real world and what people are used to buying and buying these digital assets. So if you check out the Taft booth out there, you'll see an example of this, and Elle and I are wearing the sneakers, but Taft is doing an NFT drop that is going to come with a pair of shoes, but it's not just any pair of shoes. The actual attributes of the NFT, meaning the colors in the NFT, the artwork, some of the different rarities, like there's hearts and there's signatures and all this fun stuff, of your NFT determines what your shoe actually looks like in real life. So the shoes are going to be made for you. It's going to come in your size. And so you get instant kind of like real world benefit. We think that's really important to bring new people in. But the other thing that Taft is able to do long term is they basically are going out and finding their most hardcore consumers and the people who are willing to embark on this new way of dropping a product. And they're kind of getting them directly connected with the brand. And so they can go out and through what we call token gated commerce, they'll implement something where you can connect your wallet, prove you own the NFT. And Taft can actually dish a completely different experience to that consumer than someone who doesn't own the NFT. Different products, different pricing, all kinds of cool stuff. So, and there's crazy stuff all over the place. There's lots of fun stuff, but that's something that we are really important. We think is really important that there's actual like tangible value right now, because the space is new and it's the Wild West, and there's a lot of crazy stuff happening, and people are.
So you think like physical products are kind of like the most exciting?
Right now, yeah, and we've been working on this for a long time. When we did the Groundhog project, this was our thesis was to bring new people into NFTs, and this was back in the fall when not as many people maybe would have raised their hand. So we did a hoodie with the NFT, and we did rarity in the hoodie. I'm actually wearing the more rare hoodie right now. It was a collaboration with a men's brand called Feature, based in Las Vegas. But every NFT came with a hoodie. That was the only time I'd ever heard of that before. Actually, never mind. Artifact did that with a very small, like hand-painted Jeff Staples drop. But it was really new. In the last 2 weeks, you've seen Azuki launch a jacket that you can redeem. You've seen Artifact and Nike announce 20 different pairs of Air Force Ones that are customizable. I know there's a few more. So it definitely seems to be trending towards people realizing they need to like pack these things and back them with tangible goods as well.
Yeah, and I mean, building on that, I think this is only going to become more mainstream when people get some sort of real life value, whether it's a physical item, whether it's a membership to an educational series, even if it's in the nonprofit realm, generating funds for Medicare, environmental initiatives. We're always really nerdy about applications in space, so I can't not talk about that. But there's this massive race for the moon, to have humanity go back on the moon, and thinking about resource extraction on the moon and on asteroids. And when you think about, a global approach to space, Web3 makes so much sense. You have currencies and ownership that can be validated and are transparent. There's talk about, asteroids and portions of asteroids being owned through NFTs. So people can actually verify, like, yes, we can mine this part of the asteroid, and similar for the moon. I think ownership of data for both government entities and educational entities, it makes a lot of sense. And bringing this into the mainstream, having concerts, like multi-year concerts, like VCon has a 3-year NFT that you can, get airdrops throughout the year. They just announced a crazy collaboration that's going to be coming through with Snoop Dogg later in the summer. So people are going to hold on to that, and likely hold on to that right up until VCon next year if they can go. So I think, as you say, providing membership, providing real life utility. I know that that's a word that's thrown around in the space all the time, but that depends on the values of the holders. And so creating a community that has the values that you can offer is a huge part of, your marketing. I'll pass that on to you.
One of the coolest ones that I was looking at last night was, it's Link's DAO, and if you buy in, you get membership in a golf course when they buy it. I think that's pretty freaking fun. I think that it depends on your audience, what they're going to be interested in. We do some really cool stuff where you can take your PFP and actually become that in AR or VR, any of these kind of 3D application places. I think that there's a huge wave out there of wanting to identify with what you purchased and take that and do things with it in these other metaverse type areas. And so I think there's a ton of utility there, but I echo like, the in real life stuff is super cool. The applications for the type of community that you're in makes these like interesting and valuable. And I think the more that they're tailored to the audience, both the better they do and the more relevant that you stay. If you look at, what boarding, so cool, or what makes CloneX so cool, they've been able to really, address what they're doing to the type of audience and the people that are interested in them. They have really big budgets, so it makes it pretty fun. But they're able to just make things that are really unique experiences. And I think that's what people are looking for, is an experience that you can only get by being part of that NFT or that club, right? So that's what's interesting to me, and there's so many different cool things out there.
That's great. We're launching a NFT project in about 2 weeks for Rudy Gobert from the Jazz. The 12 players have gotten together, and they have an NFT collection that they've hired designers out of Paris that have built really cool. There's 6,900 unique NFTs for the 12 players, and it's Jazz Heroes. And it's if you picture a Marvel character, it's really the Jazz, individually as Marvel heroes, even though they lost in the first round of the series. We won't tell Rudy that. But it's really cool what they've done, and the utility that they put with these, it's going to be randomized when they do the reveal, but there's 6,900 unique NFTs, and 12 of the NFTs, one for each player. You get tickets to the NBA All-Star Game in January. You get signed jerseys, Zoom calls with the hero that you end up drawing. And so they've got really fun utility that goes along with this experience. So I think it's not just getting a cool picture of Donovan or Rudy. You're getting, there's a summer picnic with the team, and there's different events during the year. So I think that's really important to just getting a picture. So.
I feel like kind of what you and Jessica are talking about is sort of like a Patreon model, where it's like you get it's a membership, right? You're getting membership and you're paying for certain membership tiers, that kind of stuff. So that is an interesting way to benefit.
Yeah, I mean, how I see this going, and obviously I think everybody projects, is it's going to be overwhelming, and basically everything's an NFT eventually. I kind of foresee it as, I think we all have a junk drawer in our kitchen, probably, and there's probably screws and things that you think you might use one day and you throw in there. I think, unfortunately, our wallets are going to end up looking like this with all the different things NFTs are going to become. It'll be really convenient when it gets to the point where like a birth certificate will be an NFT, and you can easily find out, yeah, it's in my wallet. You have it stored in a folder, and it's easily grabbable. But then I think it's funny. I think when I first came into NFTs, I started seeing people like saying, hey, send your address, and we'll send you a free NFT. And I was like, oh, I want that. Awesome. Here's my address. Posting in every single comment. Just seeing really noobish, obviously, like almost like somebody that goes to a conference for the first time. They're trying to get every free T-shirt and pen they can. But once you go to a few concerts, you come home and then you just have a junk drawer full of all this junk and never use it. So you're to the point where you're like, no, please don't give me anything. I don't want to carry it around. I don't want to have it anymore. I think that's kind of how NFTs are going. Yeah, memberships, access to clubs, activity, all these things, but also like your gym membership is going to be an NFT probably, everything. So you scan your wallet. If your NFT is in that wallet, yes, you have access. And I think that's how most things are going to go. I've seen, unfortunately, the OnlyFans side of things popping up where people are selling NFTs for access to their content. But, I mean, it's just the way it's going to be. It's the future.
Personally, because I'm a writer, I think that one of the things I'm most excited about, which nobody really mentioned, is IP rights. If you think about Harry Potter, if you read the very first Harry Potter book before it was ever successful, and you were like, oh my God, this is so good, this is going to be big one day, and you could like invest in owning the Harry Potter IP, then you'd be, if you owned 3% of it when the first book came out, you'd be a billionaire now. So if you have this piece, this Harry Potter, which right now books are owned by publishing houses, but if it could be owned fractionally by fans with part ownership in it, and then that IP can be used through IP expansion, like it becomes a movie, it becomes merch, you're buying wands at a store, you're buying capes and trunks, you're having butterbeer at the theme park, like all of that is using that IP, so to own it would be a really huge deal. So I just see that being like owning books or pieces of writing would almost be like owning a musician's masters today. Like if you typically a musical album is owned by a studio, and they own the album, and it's really expensive to own. It's like they're just rich, huge hedge fund guys that own Taylor Swift's masters, say, and they get tons of money every time that is played on Spotify, with Taylor Swift only getting a small part. Well, if books could be the same way, if music could be the same way, where the fans could be part owners in that instead of the studio, instead of the publishing house, I just see that being such a greater potential for a fan than buying a $10 album or a $10 book. You could invest $100 in owning part of it and actually make revenue on it. That just seems like such an exciting thing to do. And personally, I have an article coming out with Esquire in the next couple weeks about how Web3 is going to disrupt the publishing industry. And I can actually mint that article using the app Mirror as an NFT, so you can own this article I wrote for Esquire about how Web3 is going to disrupt the publishing industry. And I think that has really interesting ramifications, because as a writer, if I do that for all of my writing, and right now only a portion of my writing is on chain, but like if I start putting all of my writing on chain, then it's like you own a certain percentage of my body of work. And there can be benefits with that. Like I own one of Elle's articles, I own two of Elle's articles, and together that means I own 5% of her body of work and make money as that generates revenue. So I think that IP is something that I'm personally really excited about. Yeah?
I just want to segue off that. I think lots of us have either had the experience where we saw like something in somebody else and we would invest in that person and kind of help motivate them, or have somebody say to us like, oh, I really believe in that. I think that you should pursue this. How would it feel to then have them have the ability to show it, to put a little bit of money behind you? I think that would be motivating. But I think that's what I see. She's sharing that's what I think that's what we should be looking at in an NFT. And if we're like looking to launch, it's almost like all the stuff you see on OpenSea, all these animal profile pictures are almost backwards, because what you're doing is you're investing in people and you're investing in what they're going to build in a business. And it's almost like Kickstarter backwards, as far as they already have their whole business planned out and mapped out, and that's how they sell you, and then you invest. This, they throw up a picture, and usually if you think it's cool looking or you like it, or you feel it relates to you somehow, you always saw yourself as a beaver with a scarf and gold sunglasses, then you buy that NFT, right? But you actually are investing in people and in teams, and if you want to flip or whatever, make money in NFTs, you need to be doing a lot of research into the people behind the projects, and that's how the value is going to come.
Yeah, I think one of the things you just mentioned is crowdfunding is a really interesting model in this world, because of that very reason. Like you can fund a project up front, verify that there's a market for it before you even launch the collection, and everybo's got ownership in it, right? And you guys are kind of doing that. Well, you didn't really crowdfund, I guess, but you will crowdfund with your NFTs, I suppose, right? For the things you'll do.
In the upcoming collection,
Yeah.
So we had our, as a public company, we have other revenue streams, and so we were able to invest in our community before they invested in us. So in March, we sent 3 community members on a zero-G flight with an astronaut to learn how to move in space. Which was a really incredible and powerful experience. And same with the space flight. We bought the space flight ahead of our drop, investing in our community and showing them that, we are here for you. We're investing in the long-term social infrastructure that we believe makes commerce and culture and space viable long-term. And yeah, so that was just something, if they're going to invest in you, show them the same respect of investing in your project up front and doing, ethically as well for them as you possibly can.
Do you guys know who Brandon Sanderson is? Okay, so yeah, he's a fantasy author, lives in Utah. Did you guys see that he just raised $41 million for 4 new books in his series? $41 million on Kickstarter. It's crazy. He's the biggest Kickstarter campaign of all time, and it's for 4 books. And what I think is super interesting is imagine if you could crowdfund ownership in that way, which you can on Mirror and some of these other platforms. But if those people there were 20,000 people who spent $600 in that crowdfund. So that's a lot of money for 4 books and some merch and swag. Like, it's pretty insane. Now think about what you could do if you could actually be crowdfunding the ownership. So if you're, I'm going to launch my a utopian fantasy series in the fall, and I'm going to crowdfund it. And my goal is crowdfund it for ownership. So you're paying for the series, the fantasy series, and everything, but you actually get to be owner in it as it develops and becomes more successful, or anything like that. And I think that's such a huge benefit to be able to do that up front, especially as an author, because right now it works like, I'm just going to write a book for 3 years and then see how it turns out on the market. But if there's no market to begin with, it's kind of silly. So I feel like that's some way to kind of develop a market while verifying it.
But do those people get first edition prints? Because I know those hold more value. Maybe.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, and I think that has to be taken into consideration. Like right now, the main player in that space is Alexandria Labs, who they're building like a library for the metaverse. And that's how they're thinking about it, is like you are investing in a book and you get ownership in it, but it does come with benefits for people who own at certain tiers, like first edition hardcover copies of the book, and those same merch qualities that are like on Kickstarter now. But I do think that brings up something interesting that I kind of dystopian that I wanted to ask you, because it is kind of far-flung, a lot of the things we're thinking about. There's a lot of imagination. It's very creative. It depends a lot on the organization that's issuing the NFTs, what those come with, and that could change at any time. So my question is, say we hit a recession tomorrow, everybody's stock tanks, everybody's crypto tanks, people are start losing their jobs. What good are their NFTs? How do we make this more of an ecosystem? Thoughts?
Well, I was just going to say, the only value in the NFT is the team behind it. And so if this happens, if this recession happens and they give up, if they rug, then that's the end, right? Then they go to zero, and I've watched many do it. Some that I was very hopeful in, some that I invested in went to zero, and the teams kind of quit and walked away. It's a really interesting challenge, especially like as a co-founder of one. Sure, I think the initial goal is to mint out, and then you mint out, and then it's like, oh crap, we have this community of 5,000 people looking to us to add value to this thing, and the value is not going to be in just really cool artwork. That's the allure of that is going to fade away. So now what do I do? And so you have to start building and adding value. And so, we're in a recession, ironically. So the teams that I invested in, I did my research on, and I am still very optimistic and hopeful, and I see them still putting out updates, and I think things like that are going to be what make these NFTs survive this bear market that we're in. And the ones that give up, or they walk away and they'll fade away. It's just like, how many of you collected cards growing up? I bought Jurassic Park cards. I was a big Jurassic Park fan. I wore a hat everywhere, and all my pictures. It's really embarrassing. But I bought all these cards. They're worth zero. But if I was buying Magic the Gathering cards like my brother, then I might have some value to those. And he does. He has like a Black Lotus or something. I don't know. It's supposedly worth a lot of money, and I just thought they looked like nerds playing it all the time. But it's just the teams behind it, and if they're going to keep adding value and building, and I think that's what we're trying to do with the NFT we're behind, is just building. That's what's going to survive and what's going to endure.
Yeah, I want to echo what you said. I think it's all about the team. And when you invest in some of these, it depends on what your goal is, right? So, like I mentioned Links DAO, right? Like if you want membership in a golf course, it's a great one, right? If that's not interesting to you, don't do that, right? If you're in it for some beautiful art, there are thousands of collections with gorgeous art that have no other use case besides that they're really beautiful. Or works of literature that are really stunning to you, right? It's an individual value. If you're looking, though, to invest and flip, that is about the team. And you need to be really careful when you're investing for that kind of long-term value. And long-term in this space is not as long-term as one might think. If you're thinking, a couple of months down the road or a year down the road, I would be looking at the blue chips because those ones have a much longer, much more stable track record. Things like Artifact or Bored Ape Yacht Club, I know that they're expensive, but I'll be honest, those ones are really safe harbors during difficult times. And then there are going to be other collections. We literally saw one this week, Goblin Town, which minted for free, that is worth over an ETH. It'll probably go up a little bit more before it probably comes back down a bit. It's the ugliest collection I've ever seen. But it was really unique. People had a good value with that.
Charmingly ugly.
I think it's pretty ugly. But I think that there is some value to the holder of just the art itself, right? Like I think you have to be okay with the fact that sometimes it is just going to be the art and that you want to be careful with that. Otherwise, if you're looking for the flip or you're looking for that investment, you really need to do your homework on the team. And the teams come out, there are a few teams that come out with lots of collections that have a much more proven track record. That I think that's the biggest thing that I tell like new people coming in is like do your homework on the team because that's what's going to determine their success long term.
It's funny you mentioned that, Goblin. When on their website it says no utility, no function, I don't know, there's like no three things, and then it says just art. So you're just literally buying this Goblin, but it's pumping.
That's cool.
And I think,
There's value in that.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's a really interesting marketing play. But I think that, as we move forward long term, if you're someone that's more vulnerable to a volatile marketplace, if it's like risk you can't absorb, then thinking about investing in projects that either operate as businesses or are businesses themselves with a transparent track record and a docs team, that's probably the avenue for you, really. Like that in the current environment was something that I think we really took to heart and allowed us to continue building for the long term. So we launched, originally we were going to have a launch pass collection that would be burned for a PFP. We launched during the crash 2 weeks ago, so that was really interesting and horrifying and kept us all up at night. So what we did instead, so we put out our launch pass collection and we capped it where we ended because we were supposed to do 10,000 PFPs and it's not the time to sell 10,000 PFPs with almost any project, especially, one new to the space. And then what we also did to like really build trust, really give our community some additional security is the day before we finished off of our mint with our public mint, we actually allowed people to come in for a full refund. So like if you can't put food on the table, if you're struggling right now, if this is something that you're like regretting and this isn't your long-term value, like that's okay. We're going to cap this collection. You can get a refund. We'll have, our true fan community and we'll launch the PFP collection when things are a little bit more stable. But I think we're going to see more of that kind of mentality to give people long-term security, especially in such a volatile ecosystem at the moment. And I think that's important. So if you are, if you're vulnerable, if you're considering getting into this space and you're new and you don't have big investments in the space, something that's a little bit more stable is probably for you. And you're going to see more and more of those types of projects, I think.
Do you mind if I add something? Look, I think, well, the first thing I will say is investing in NFTs, as you probably all know, is extremely risky. It's probably one of the riskiest asset classes out there. And like I said earlier, I think it's driven almost wholly by speculation right now. And so investing in the team is outstanding advice, knowing who's behind the project. Do they have a track record? Have they done something before? Is all really important. But almost all of the greatest entrepreneurs of our lifetime had businesses that failed. And so, number one, don't put any money in that you can't afford to lose. That's like rule number one of trading NFTs. Yeah, there you go. And I would just say, it sounds corny, but is it something you like? Is it a person you like? Or are they doing something that interests you? Kind of, I'll make fun of myself here, but I grew up rollerblading, the dorkiest thing ever now, but it was something I stayed and did my entire life. And it didn't matter that I was like making money on it. It was fun, or people were. I did it as an activity, so that's something that you can maybe think about. But on the other side of that, with what we're doing at Remy and some comments here, investing in real businesses is a lot safer than investing in a startup, which most of these PFP type projects are, right? So just some thoughts to consider. When we go into the space, we think actually buying an NFT from one of your favorite brands is going to be the best first purchase of an NFT, because there's hopefully going to be some kind of value to a physical product. You're going to get future access to additional product or discounts of things that you like. And I don't think it's ever going to go away, where the speculation and the hype cycles of NFTs, people just love that. They love to collect. It's gambling, or whatever you want to call it. But not every NFT is going to be worth $1 million. It's just not the case. So if your friends are hanging out in a community and you like it, or you get some kind of value from it through a physical product, I think that is something to consider, and be willing and ready for it to go to zero, because Terra Luna happened really quickly, and that can happen to any of these projects.
Yeah, does anybody have questions at all? Yeah? Tech bros.
Me. I actually don't know hard data. I think there's a lot of stuff published out there, but I think it's probably skews heavily between 25 and 35-year-old males who are in the technology sector. Tech bros. Yeah.
Similar to the audience.
Yeah, if you look around, this is your sample.
Yeah. I mean, everything that you guys have said, it's also heavily United States based. OpenSea's latest data showed that it was somewhere in the 70% range that most NFTs were bought in the United States, followed then by like the UK, a couple of European countries, and then heavily in the Asian countries. And mostly that, skews more like Japan, Korea, as China has shifted kind of how they do stuff. But overwhelmingly, it's like 20 to 40 male.
Yeah, there's a lot of platforms popping up that conquer that problem. I can think of 3 right now that I've seen. There's this clothing company, it used to be called Ray John. They do like full sublimation. They just got kicked off Spotify, but now their website forwards to this program that they're setting up, which does exactly what you're talking about. Basically, it just takes that whole process of your idea, your artwork, your business model, and helps you get it into a minting state and on chain and in a platform like Magic Eden or OpenSea or whatever other one you decide to go with. But there are those options. People are conquering those problems right now, and I think it's going to help onboard a lot of new people as well.
Yeah, we did that for the jazz. So they had, artists and ideas, and that's kind of all they had. And so they brought it to us. We did the minting. We put it on the marketplace. Their fans could buy their NFTs with kind of anything in their wallet, cash or credit card, debit card, or any token. And we've seen, the outreach from, I think every sports organization in the world is working on an NFT project right now. Every entertainment, whether it's college or professional singing, racing, anything, everybody's working on an NFT project, and so providing an easy way to helping these organizations, mint and sell and getting fan engagement is really important. Yeah.
And then about the money aspect that you talked about, the investment to actually jump in. The way I did it was very degen. I searched for one that was as passionate as I was, that wanted to make it, And we both decided to do some sort of revenue split with the other guy that was helping kind of sell us and get us some exposure. And none of us put in any money in the initial collection. We were just passionate people that wanted to do something and knew this was relevant right now, so we were acting fast. So I think that those people are out there if you look for them.
As a writer, I've never had to do any kind of coding or anything myself because all I have to do is write, and then I can mint my writing on Mirror. If I'm writing a book, I can mint it on SoulType. If I'm writing a newsletter, I can mint it on Paragraph. So there's a lot of platforms out there that, depending on what you write or depending on what kind of art you are publishing, all you have to do is write or put the art up and then press publish, and all the rest is kind of just built in. It's really awesome. Are there other questions? Oh my, we'll go here. Here? Where? Here?
Talk to me after. No, just kidding. Yeah, so there's a number of hurdles I think that brands need to think about when they enter into the space. Some of them are just purely operational, like buying with a credit card versus having to onboard into the crypto ecosystem completely. When you go and you market a product to a broader audience, like your brand is, more of a normal audience, many of those people have never interacted with crypto before. So we're building flows at Remy that make the purchase of the NFT feel just like you're buying it on a Shopify store. It's not this weird mint thing, and like, there's a lot of fun that goes into that stuff, but for normal adoption, people want something that feels a little bit more comfortable to them. Right now, we think that pairing physical products is really important with brands. So the Taft shoe is a really great example. It's the only way you can buy that shoe. But, every company is going to have different products that they can offer that help bridge that gap to buying the digital item for the first time. I think that is actually super important because that's going to hook your customer. The thing that comes after that, now that you have a customer with a token and they start to it becomes more normal, it's a way, if you've read 1,000 True Fans, I think Chris Dixon wrote that, or maybe he has a blog about someone who wrote it. We view that a lot. We think that is super true to what NFTs bring and how it aligns consumer behavior with companies. It's a way to basically go directly to your very best customers. And right now, some of that, we kind of think that is a little bit broken because a lot of times the best customers don't really get discounts because the brands are like, oh, you're just going to buy our stuff anyways. But really, your best customers should be getting the best deals. They should be getting access to your best product. They should be getting access to exclusive product because those are the people who are really going out and advocating for your brand. And it doesn't take a lot. Like, we think brands should start small. Don't do a 10,000 collection. Do 500, do 200, do 1,000. And then you can expand on that once you've kind of gotten some traction there.
And I would say I'm not from the fashion or beauty space. I'm from space. But I would say one of the uphill battles for female-forward projects right now is that you're creating your own consumers as you go. So aligning with a product campaign or being really strategic about who you collab with in the space. It kind of sucks, but like finding heavy influencers or big female-forward projects in the space are going to help you create a community and create your consumers as you go. And I think even though product-forward projects can be super successful, you can't neglect the community and additional utility with that community. So like tutorials, maybe like aligning the products that you're selling with educational tutorials and having, well-known people or brands collaborate on those tutorials might be an interesting avenue to add in as well.
Regulations coming. I mean, to the crypto space, especially stable coins, it'll start there. The fractional shares that you talked about. I mean, if you do something Kickstarter and you're getting first edition and whatnot, but when you start to say you get ownership or equity in my project, that becomes a security. And so the regular way of, going on OpenSea or another marketplace to buy a fractional equity interest in an NFT, that has to be registered with the SEC. So, plug for CoinZoom, we also own a registered broker-dealer registered with the SEC and FINRA. So when we do fractional NFTs for equity, whether a building or equity interest in a project, that's something that we could do, but it has to be registered through an exempt offering through the SEC.
We've got to end, but I want to just go down the line and have you all just say where people should follow you or your project.
My Twitter is the Hattie, and Apocalyptic Apes is our project, and Queen Apes is the female project, but they're kind of tied together. You could find links to all of our Discords and stuff from there.
Yeah, Todd Crossland, great to meet everybody. Like, really cool panel, unbelievable what everybody's doing. I want to get all your contacts. So, our company, it's coinzoom.com, and look out for the Jazz Heroes NFTs. You get a Rudy or Donovan Mitchell NFT coming in about 2 weeks.
Awesome. On Twitter, I'm Blockchain Jess, and you can follow our project. We've got a few of them, but our most recent one is Non-Fungible People, and I'm with Daz 3D.
Awesome. Thanks for having me today. So I'm Emily, and I'm with Space Plus from Uplift Aerospace. So you can follow us on Twitter at SpacePlusNFT, and our website is spaceplus.xyz. That is also where you'll find your astronaut application. So go ahead and apply. We're dropping a launch pass today, so make sure you tweet us out and say why you should be our community astronaut. And one member of the community here today is going to be dropped a launch pass tonight at the after party. All right.
All right, as a reminder, I'm Roger Emmer. You can find our company at remilabs.xyz, but more importantly, just right out this door, we're going to be at the Taft booth. Come stop by, check out the shoes, and enter to win a pair. It's been great being here.
Thank you. And I'm Elle Griffin. I write a newsletter about the future of publishing, and that's at lgriffin.substack.com. All my NFT projects are there as well. Just so you guys know where you're going next, so we're at our 11 o'clock breakout. You'll want to stay in here if you're interested in Utah Web3 real estate. If you're into social media and the creator economy, you're going to be in room B, which is the far end front corner. If you are interested in AR and VR, which I'll be moderating, that's in room C, which is the other side in the back. All right, and then we have lunch after that. So thank you guys so much for coming.